Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to our Resolve the Unsolved Forum, promoted by Panesia EBIS Consulting. This is our 23rd webinar. I'm Sandeep Ghosh here, and today we have a very important panel discussion uh, which we have brought in for you, evaluating performance and financial health. Obviously, we are talking about companies and enterprises. We had various webinars focusing on different aspects. And at the same time, we did have a couple of discussions around finances, funding. But what we have observed, and we have been discussing for quite some time, and in fact has been a favorite subject, we are going to discuss about the financial statements which provides a snapshot of any corporate's financial health. All of us as entrepreneurs or businessmen, we are familiar with terms like balance sheet, P&L account, cash flow statements. I don't mean to say that we don't understand it, we understand it, but what the numbers mentioned over there speaks about the health of a company is very critical to understand. Instead of leaving everything to the accounts department, it is very important. So value of these documents lies, therein lies the story which has to be understood. And analysts and investors alike across the world believes that a thorough understanding of the notes to financial statement is very essential to understand and properly evaluate one's own company. So we thought we should have open discussions around them. Obviously, we'll be talking about very critical ratios. These ratios are derived from a combination of balance sheet, utilizing the P&L account, in some cases the cash flow statement also. And yesterday, when we were just having a chat, me, Rajiv, and Sanjeev were discussing, when Rajiv did pointed out a very important statement, which is very common. I'm just mentioning it outright. A promoter says, for example, my company has a turnover of 100 crores. You see, I have a collateral of 50 crores plus. But why I'm not able to get even a 2 crores? Now, these scenarios, time and again, we have seen during acquisitions, during funding, during equities, venture cases, which are there. I'm sure we will be able to come out with certain answers to that and what we should look for. Today, we have a very competent and enabled panel with us. Let me quickly introduce them to you. We have Mr. Rajiv Saraswat. Hi, Rajiv. Welcome to the forum.
Hi, thank you.
Rajiv is a co-founder and he is providing management and financial services through his company to the small and medium scale companies, specifically in northern part of the country. His expertise is in a very important area. One is the agribusiness, which is bound to grow in the coming years, banking, and international trade. He has spent more than 1.5 decades with known bankers like HDFC and IDBI. In IDBI, he was looking after the corporate and agribusiness lending. In HDFC, he was looking into the financing of SMEs. Professionally, he has a master's in business management and also has a master's in banking and corporate finance and is an alumni of IIF. We also have Sanjeev Banerjee today. Sanjeev, in fact, has joined us on a couple of enriching webinars in the past. Sanjeev, welcome once again.
Thank you.
Sanjeev is a business consultant. By profession, he is a chartered accountant, a 1998 batch. He has a total industry experience of more than 2 decades. He has spent at least half a decade in UAE with industry exposure across diverse industries like automobiles, trading and distribution, businesses in tire and telecom products, consumer durables, and hotel industry. Today, he is focusing with MSMEs and corporates, again operating out of North India. And in fact, what I was talking to Sanjeev, he has been helping a lot of companies work out on the NPA areas of late. Right, Sanjeev?
Yes.
And today with us, we also have Mr. Ravinder Goel. Welcome, Mr. Goel. Mr. Goel, in fact, is a founder member of Panacea EBIS Consulting. He has a significant trajectory in terms of his contribution to skilling ecosystem. He is a technology entrepreneur with more than 27 plus years of leadership experience in IT training and service industry, with a consistent success in achieving the goals with extensive experience in building business. Today, he is mentoring and focusing on building the digital business or the e-business, and he's focusing on three different areas right now. So Panacea EBIS Consulting is one of it. Mr. Goel, welcome. To start off with, Mr. Goel, if you can say a few words and then I'll take it on. Please.
Thank you, Sandeep. And hello, entrepreneurs. As I missed last two webinars, definitely it was something I stuck up somewhere. The show must go on. Sandeep is the key moderator, and he ensures that it keeps moving. And I was just watching about 23rd webinar. So it is almost, we are in 6 months of our webinar trainings, and we have created contents for almost 23 hours of training, which otherwise the kind of knowledge we are imparting, it would have been a very huge cost for entrepreneurs. Because we are not going ahead with the Me Too kind of webinars. We are raising issues. As the platform name we have created is Resolve the Unsolved. So we discuss the topic and we come out with where the entrepreneurs or MSME segment, they are facing the problems. Now today, as we talk about evaluate performance and financial health, I probably, because Sanjeev and Rajiv, they will talk technical, so I will not get into their domain. I'll just say that if we go back maybe 20 years, 30 years back, we used to have corner side doctors. Used to go, doctor sahab tabiyat kharab hai. So they used to prescribe some medicine by putting stethoscope here and there. And people used to come back happy that, okay, I got medicine, I'll be all right. Now today, if you go to any doctor, he will probably say that, okay, painkiller I'll give you, anti-analgesic medicines I'll give you, but you have to come back again with the test. It may be X-ray, CT scan, blood report, or whatever is there. So today we have entered into an era where we are not talking about like you just go wisdom or somebody else's wisdom because it's your business. So until unless you probably first I'll say that you have to identify what you are looking at, and once you identify that, you have to see what you are missing, where you are missing, and for that definitely we all what is so-called consultants and advisors are there. You must take full use of us. We are here for that purpose. On top of that, it's something like until unless you get yourself identified. One, everybody is not CA, everybody is not financial expert. The entrepreneurs, I'll say, they are by of time they understand the basic accounting and basic financial system. But when you go to the for like funding or for loans or for limits, so the bankers have started seeing things differently, and their documentation is altogether changed. They're probably looking the balance sheet with the different angles. So you have to probably look at it that it's not a like 6 months game. It takes almost 2 to 3 years or 4 years sometime where you build up your balance sheet to meet your financial goals. So, I mean, today if you are working out something, so in case your balance sheet is done in a domestic way, Probably it will take at least 2 to 3 years to come to that level where bank can cooperate with you and bank can fund you easily. So I welcome you all again, and I will not take much time. I'll welcome Rajiv and Sandeep host both. So, and thank you very much. Sandeep ji, please take it further.
Thank you, Mr. Goyal. Thank you very much. So we will start it off right away. And obviously, I will be addressing Rajiv for the banking solutions and Sanjeev for the performance issues with your rich experience. Uh, See, to start off with, the common question comes is what is ratios? And we all know whenever our financial papers are with the bankers or with a financial expert, they go through and do quick calculations. And what are these calculations? I'm sure most of us understand. And obviously, it is assumed that entrepreneurs will be aware of. So what we'll do is one by one, we will focus on to the asset management ratio. We'll move on to liquidity ratios, then to debt management ratios and profitability ratios. And I'm sure our panel will simplify the entire thing for us to understand and why it is critical. At the onset, let's focus on the asset management ratios. To begin with, I would say asset management ratios are very, very important, specifically focusing on areas like do I understand what are my accounts receivable turnover or what is my inventory turnover. With these two statements around asset management ratio, I'll set the ball rolling. Rajiv, I'd like you to take the first initiative. As a banker, how do you see asset management ratio and why it is so critical and important for you?
Thanks, Sanjeev ji. Thanks for giving me the opportunity on this platform. And I'm a great fan and follower of SME entrepreneurs for the amount of knowledge, legacy, and the contribution they create into this economy. And they are the ones who actually provide so much opportunities not only for employment but many other facets of the economy. So to answer your question, so I just go into a background. So there are two types of financial sets which we prepare after year of a business. So these are the balance sheet and profit and loss account. So profit and loss account, if I am allowed to speak a little Hindi, it's like a lekha jokha over a period of time. So it just tell you what you have done all these 5 years and where all this whole year and what you have attained out of it. On the contrary, balance sheet is a photo snapshot which says where do you stand after all this as on date, maybe a March, maybe a April. So for all practical purposes, we take a 31st March as our audited financials, and that's the snapshot of that particular day. So asset turnovers in terms of your inventory management and receivables management. For people who are into a manufacturing business, it is how fast they are able to turn over their assets, whether it's a receivables and whether it's a inventory, both are current assets. So the faster you move, so I see it as a different, if you see, it is being seen as a working capital cycle from a banker's perspective or a lender's perspective. So what this cycle includes is a cash in and cash out. So if you typically see the business, so you purchase stocks, whether you are into trading or into manufacturing. So you purchase stocks, you either trade it directly or you do some working on it, you do a value addition, work in progress, and then you sell off. When you sell off, you create this stock is converted into debtors. And from debtors, once you realize this money, then you are able to monetize it. So it's cash out when you pay your creditors or when you purchase the goods, and cash out, cash in happens when you actually get the money back. So how fast you are able to actually get this back in terms of number of days. So suppose I am able to convert my inventory in 10 days and in 30 days, that means the time is actually, this is the time where my money is blocked. If my debtors are 30 days or 90 days, that is the time my money is blocked. So if you are able to actually fast rotate it, that's the word used is turnover. So the fast you are able to turn it around helps you actually to get required fund into the business. For example, I'll just somebody who is having a debtor days or inventory days as 30 and 60, that means a 90 days period. In this 90 days period, his money is blocked. 30 days in stocks and rest 60 days in the debtors. On the contrary, somebody in the same business and same size, and for him, if the inventory in your ratio, the days, number of inventory holding days is 15 and 15, so he is able to rotate into 30 days. So this 30 days and 90 days, it's a gap of 3 times. So he will be able to rotate these funds. The more you rotate, the more profitability you generate and more liquidity you generate. So that's all about the asset turnover ratios, and this is how banks look into it. And these are very important ratios. First, it shows your fast moving cycle of your business. Two, it also helps you to actually take care of your liquidity, and also helps you keep a good health from a bank's perspective.
Right. Thanks, Rajiv, for explaining that. And I'm sure it's not very complicated in terms of calculating this, because there are straight available formulas, and a person can put it on the balance sheet and all this, and they can calculate that. Now, coming to the performance side, Sanjeev, Rajiv shared it from a banker's side. So when I'm going to the bank, obviously, Rajiv, if I've got you right, lower is my period of collecting receivables, and lower and faster is my inventory turnout, you will be happy to deal with me, right?
Right.
Sanjeev, in terms of performance, how do you advise your companies with these ratios?
See, like Rajiv just told about that, profit and loss is a lekha joka, and that really matters in any business. Balance sheet is a position statement. I have so much of debtors, but मैंने actually क्या किया? It's what matters, in any time frame. So I'm doing business for my profits. I do earn, like if I'm employed, then I should get a salary. It's the same way, if I'm an entrepreneur, then I should get my salary, which is in the form of a profits. Okay. So as a owner, as a founder of your own business, which is your everything, each and every component which is hitting your lekha joka of your business has to be monitored. Otherwise, what will going to happen? It cannot be that you are only focused on the sales, or you're focused on your operating cost and the different ratios. But ultimately, you should have a control what I'm earning. I know a lot of entrepreneur who talks about that I got a gross margin of 30%. When it's come back to the lower, it hardly is left out. So that's not a performance. Performance is as an entity as a whole. If I got a huge gross margin and I got a huge administrative expenses, then what's the fun? Nothing is coming to my pocket. So from the performance point of view, first is the profitability or the profit and loss that we generally assess ourselves, that what is my gross margin ratios, first and foremost thing. That I made a sale of 10 CR, and probably I have earned a 1 CR as my gross margin. That means 10% of my sales is my profit. That is very, very important aspect. So once the banking funded the banking, or any institution funding the businesses, they exactly understand that what kind of extra earning the entrepreneur is going to get out of my funding. Jo hai. But what is the additional that is bringing? That is very important to understand. So that is through profit and loss we will able to know. Okay. Then definitely there are certain mixed ratios which is required from the aspect. Like one, Rajiv talked about the asset turn, the debtors turnover ratio and the inventory turnover ratio. Yes, we will always look for a very high asset turnover ratios, because faster I'm converting or rotate the cycle, you know. So I was advising some one of my entrepreneur who got a cycle that they and the food grains and all. So they rotate almost 2 to 3 times in a month. So with a very small quantum of money, they are generating huge revenue, and huge revenue means higher margins for your business. With a very small, I will say, funding or through equity or bank, you are generating higher revenue for this thing. So cycles makes your turnover high, as well as it will make your bottom line heavier. One thing is very, so always work on a very small working capital cycle, you know. One aspect is this. Then definitely one aspect I always look for any business is the uh, proprietary ratios, you know, where I always try to see what is the, you know, shareholders contribution to total asset, you know. Today we are seeing a lot of cases, a lot of banks are into the trouble from the financial from the finance of the companies, where they see that, you know, most of the funding is done from the bank side, you know. The 100% or majority percent of the funding is done from the banking side. There's hardly any equity left in the business. Then definitely bank is not going to put the things in their place, because, you know, there should be a neck which is stuck in the business from the entrepreneur side. So that is very important, that what is my, in the total asset, which is a fixed asset and my current asset, what is the ratio on which my proprietor is putting the money into the business. So one aspect is very important of that. Then lower, obviously, the high turnover ratios is means that I'm rotating very fast. So this is a very good performance. Debtors means that I can, you know, really ask my sales team to collect. And if I with all my working experience, I have seen that the any of the multinational companies, they are only, if they're into trading, they have a very good control over the inventory and the receivables management. They
Right.
have they have 10 days, 15 days reporting to the headquarters, where they always go on asking why these debtors are not realizing, what is the reasons, what is the inventory which is aged revenue, how to dilute this, how to do this, and all this. So they're very focused on this to reduce the working capital. And these are the very, very critical for any kind of business, whether you are into trading, whether you're into manufacturing. Obviously, service doesn't have any inventory. So the point is that we have to have very less on this. The other aspect, definitely, I think we'll be touching this, are the liquidity ratios.
We'll
That
come to that
we'll talk about that. Yeah.
We'll
So
come
this
to
is the
that.
performance. I will talk about these two. Definitely, they're from the banking side, that debt equity ratio, which definitely Rajiv will take it over during that time, because that's a very specific to the banking.
Right. Thanks, Sanjeev. So, as you mentioned, that turnover is a very, very important factor. And in fact, any entrepreneur can simply put a formula and calculate it. Right, Rajiv and Sanjeev?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
if I put in account receivables divided by net sales figure, I at least get a number of days it takes to collect my money. And if
Correct.
I know that it is more than 30 days,
Hmm.
I should immediately focus on where the delay is happening.
Correct.
And these are same things which bankers and experts
If I can
focus on.
add a point to it, Sandeep,
Yeah. Hello.
just to add one point,
Yes, please.
since you took it, since you explained the ratio also, see, from a debtor's realization perspective, it is very important from the entrepreneur's side. See,
Right.
calculating this ratio is a matter of a spreadsheet. If you just put
Right.
the right figures in a spreadsheet, these formulas already there, so they don't. And in fact, their accounts team can also help them out.
Hmm.
It's not a big deal and not that technical a process. So
Right.
if they are able to get, so then what they can check is suppose if I see whatever is measured can be improved. So
True.
if you are able to know as an entrepreneur, my debtor days are 90 days. So
Yes.
I know my average 90 days. Now I have to improve it to 80 days, then 80 to 70 days. So if they can measure it and they have an idea where we are, so they can also improve it over a period of time. So that's a important reason these ratios should be evaluated, and entrepreneurs should be very aware where we are in terms of this data.
Right. Very important. Very important. Now, coming on to the aspect which Sanjeev, you just mentioned, the liquidity ratios. Now, as we have been talking about asset management ratios, and as Rajiv rightly pointed out, an entrepreneur can track and see what are the improvements. Now, liquidity ratios are calculated by every financing body, or when you go to the banks or anybody else, such. Or for any purposes, when anybody is taking the equity participations, they work it out. So they work out the working capital, they work on the asset test ratio or the current ratios. So if we stay with the liquidity ratios, like Sanjeev, you were mentioning, so I'll come to you first. How do you see liquidity ratios as very important performance factor?
See, if we go to the textbook, which is on 11, 12 standard, what is this ratios all about? The current ratio liquidity. It's called solvency ratios. The solvency means what? That whether I am in a position to pay off my immediate liabilities or not. It should not happen that I get a goods from my vendor and I'm not able to pay. The term is 30 days and I'm paying say 70 days, 80 days or 100 days. That means I am not a liquid company, in terms of that I'm not able to fulfill my liquid obligations. So the current ratio is very simple. This is current assets upon current liability. Current assets means your stock, inventory, your prepaid and cash equivalent upon your creditors and other payables, short-term payables. So that means what? Whatever my payables right in front of me, whether I'm in a position to pay off or not. So there has been some kind of a benchmark which every industry has, but we categorically work on current ratios 2:1 ratio. Means what? I have a liability of say a crore rupees, and for this I got a current asset of 2 crore rupees. So this is one of the very important, that whether I am in a short term, whether I'm a solvent or not, whether I'm able to pay the obligation in time or not. That's the indicator. And
But
very
what I'm
simple.
saying is, this gives me or an external party an idea about whether my company will be able to pay up the liabilities. Am I right?
Correct. So this is a very, very important aspect, whether I am in a position to pay off or not. Secondly, when there are certain payments which are very, very urgent types. So for that reason, we generally take the liquid assets, means what? Minus of inventory and prepaid and other things. So current assets means your receivables, which can be collected. Even if I give some kind of a cash discount, I can prepone the payment also, and cash is already lying or FD or other things, so that I can pay off immediately if something arises out of the business. So these are the very critical to check my own solvency, whether I'm in a position. Solvent doesn't mean that whether I'm in a position to pay off my complete liability in terms of current liability. I'm not asking about the long-term liabilities like term loan and all this. No, my short-term, whether my creditors are paid in time or not, whether I'm discharging my banking interest or not, whether I'm paying off the government dues in time or not. So these are the immediate payments which we have to be paid, and whether I'm in a position to pay off or not. So this is very critical for my own reputation, actually. What I would
So
put it
that means it is not that in my mind I should be clear that I'm paying off my liabilities, but my paper should also reflect
Yes.
that it could be done.
Yes.
Because my papers would be seen by the other party who is there.
Absolutely.
Now, let's take this question to Rajiv. Now, as a banker, when we arrive at your doorsteps and you are advising us as an me as an entrepreneur. So how it is important for you it is to understand and see how healthy are my ratios in terms of liquidity.
I think current ratio is one of those ratios which is oftenly talked about and one of the very critical ratio. To give you understanding, it's a balance sheet ratio because it covers items on the balance sheet, that is the current assets and the current liabilities. It is also called quick ratio, asset ratio, when we actually remove the inventories out of the current assets. It's a very critical ratio when you are going for a working capital finance. See, if you go into the basics of the accounting, so for any debit entry, there is a credit entry. For every credit entry, there is a debit entry. So this is how the balance sheet balances. In terms of balance sheet also, to create any current asset, you have to create a current liabilities. So going by that principle, it should be always equal to 1. Whatever I'm generating a current asset, I should be having an equivalent amount of current liability. So the ratio should be 1. But if you go by the books, and why it comes, there is a history to it because there was a PL Tandon committee which gave a second method of lending of calculating the MPBF, which is maximum banking permissible finance. So the ideal ratio which banks go is a 1.33.
Okay.
So the reason is for every current liability, you have a current asset, so it should be 1:1. The rest 33% or the rest 25% actually has to come from the equity. So if you see, if you have a you have a current assets of say 10 crores and you have a current liability of another 10 crores, but it's not like that. The current assets are always more. The reason is part of some current assets has to come from the equity, and that is called the promoter's contribution. So if you understand, I'll just try to make people understand, especially for those entrepreneurs who are taking CC limits, cash credit limits, not overdrafts. So cash credit limit is a DP based limit. That is for every month they have to submit a stock statement. Out of that stock statement, the bank takes the figures of the creditors, debtors, and their stock, basis which it arrives at a figure of finance which the limit is being set, because it's a line of credit, it's not a loan. So line of credit is set every month, and basis which draws happen. It's a running account. So why bankers insist on which I think Sanjeev ji talked about in the initial segment, is the promoter's equity is very important. So current ratio is being looked as a solvency ratio, as a balance sheet ratio. It takes care of the capacity of the company or the entrepreneur or the business to tackle its current liabilities, which it has actually accumulated out of creating the current assets. So it's a critical ratio, important ratio, and many of the sanction letters which the entrepreneurs might have seen, if banks critically write that the CR or the current ratio needs to be at level of 1.25, 1.33. Ideally, it should be as a book. If you go by the books, it should be 1.33. But yes, anything above 1.2 is acceptable to the banks. Critical ratio, and it comes from the fact that you need to put your stakes or your margin into the business.
Rajiv, coming to what I mentioned in the beginning, I am a 100 crore company. I am showing you my collaterals, 50 crore plus. Lekin I want to CR as CC. What could be my problem?
See, it's a very, very frequently encountered issue, and entrepreneurs get irritated. Yes. Because they see they are doing a business which has a certain size and that is backed by a good collateral, but the bank is saying I cannot offer you a minuscule working capital limits also. Okay. So entrepreneurs have to understand one thing: these ratios are not to be looked in isolations. So every ratio has a background to it, because as earlier I've already discussed, it's a P&L, and then the balance sheet ratios and the purpose of finance. So I'll just go a little back. Understand what the bank looks actually. So bank is into the business of lending. Bank is not into the business of selling a property. It's a very difficult part for the bank to sell out a property and get its money. So bank actually wants its money back from the cash flows. So there are, if you see, I'll just mention the basic thumb rules which a bank looks particularly, and I'm categorically telling it, particularly on the working capital finance part, because working capital finance is different from any other type of finance, which is a CC and OD part. So to answer your question one, if I have a turnover of 100 crores and I have a collateral of 50 crores, if I'm going for a non-working capital finance, that's a property-based backed lending, that is typically called loan against property. So yes, answer may be yes, looking at the repayment capacity. But if you're going for a working capital finance, that is the limit-based business of OD or CC, then the bank has to look into the ratio, like current ratios, their own money into business, and something called working capital gap. So banks, first of all, bank has to see two things. One, whom they are lending. So they see the promoter's profile, their business, their background. Two, if I lend this money, is there a requirement or not? So this question comes whether there is a requirement of fund or not. So bank will actually not go on the turnover side, because the thumb rule says from a turnover perspective, you can lend 20% of the turnover. So yes, there is eligibility of 20 crores. But then for avail that limit of 20 crores, you should ideally have 5 to 6 crores of your own money into the business. And many times this money is not into the business. So, and why it is not generated is because traditionally Indian system, there are two lacunas in Indian business system. Is one, there is not much capital generation happening, and that is the reason not much money is going into R&D. So capital generation is very necessary. Your profits need to be generated. Out of that profits, it has to move from your balance sheet, from your P&L to your balance sheet in terms of reserves. You need to put your own money, and that is when your eligibility as a borrower increases in terms of the bank. So
Right.
just to give you a clear answer to this question, on 100 crores turnover with 50 crores, there are many other things which has to be looked, and which is the purpose of finance. So if there is no working capital gap, or is required equity is not coming from the promoters, bank may not lend the money. Yes, they may lend in terms of a loan against property if they have a repaying capacity.
Thank you, Rajiv. So, in fact, as an entrepreneur, it is not that once in a while or once in a 6 months I see my balance sheet. I need to also understand what is happening within my balance sheet on a consistent basis. And I need to calculate and be somewhere aware that where my company is heading for. Great. Now, let's move forward from these two areas. Let's come to a very
Sandeep, can you able to hear me? Sorry for interruption.
Hello.
Can you able to hear me, Sandeep? Murugan this side.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
I think panel has given a lucid, very clear and explanation on the ratios, the need, purpose, and everything for the manufacturing sector very well.
Right.
But today, what happened? Youngsters are all start a lot of service-based, platform-based business and everything, where you don't have the concept of stock and rotating the raw material to the finished goods and everything. I think a training institute kind of a thing. I think Mr. Goel can vouch for it. How to they have to see, because they also keep on doing the same balance sheet and same ratios and everything. It doesn't work out for them, correct?
It works in a very similar line. It's a good question, Mr. Murugan. Thanks for putting it up. What we will do is, before jumping on to the next one, we will answer it. Thank you, Mr. Murugan. So, Rajiv and Sanjeev, good that Mr. Murugan brought in a service-related query, which might be there with some of the entrepreneurs. So, if you may answer it, anybody can choose to answer it.
So one thing that I can talk about, service industry is all about performance based, and it's a P&L based business, because they don't have any inventory, which is a major component for any stuff. They might have, or they might not have debtors also, receivables also. They might have receivables also. But one of the very critical thing which service industry has to see, because this is performance based, I will definitely going to have more, I will say, drill down of the P&L per se first, and then I will do the receivables management in criticality, because probably I don't see the since the inventories are not there, that your payable will be not very high. So they will have assets to probably some of the assets like laptops or whatever. And in the other side, they have the equity to fund it. So as of now, the banking are doing service industry definitely, but on the receivable side. But as far as Mr. Murugan talk about, I will definitely look into the more into performance side or the P&L side more.
Rajiv, what did you say?
I think it is a pertinent question. See, when it's a service industry, so we can understand it's not a brick and mortar model where stocks are being put in and the outcome is being coming, output is there. So when we say stock statement and the working capital, it doesn't mean there should be stock. Stock statement is just a name. So what rightly Banerjee Saab said is right, that in this case, the funding happens on a receivable side. See, what a lender funds is, where is your money stuck in the sense, where is your money being utilized and where is the requirement. So in a service industry, the major expenses happens on a routine salary things or actually electricity bills and all those operations thing, to the money is stuck on the receivable side when you have actually provided the services and the money. So this is where the requirement comes. So receivable funding is something which happens in case of service industry also. And for putting up an office or creating some assets, they always have an opportunity to take term loans.
Thank you. Okay, we'll handle more queries once we come to the closure of this. What I was coming to right now, both Sanjeev and Rajiv, is a very important part of understanding the calculations is also the debt management ratios, right? So it's the leveraging ratio as well as accounts payable, which is there. Now, this has been also seen as a very, very important ratio, which are discussed during various financial transactions with funding bodies during equity as such. So, Rajiv, why do you feel debt management ratios are critical to understand, to be understood by the promoters?
See, when a lender lends money, so one of the critical point to understand from a lender's perspective is how can this money come back? Is the borrower have a capacity to repay? So debt management ratios come into picture when such question arises. So to give you and bifurcate this answer into two parts. One is long-term finance and one is short-term finance.
Okay.
So from a short-term finance perspective, if I'm taking a CC of or a 4D of a working capital lines or lines of credit, whatever name we call it, of 10 crores. So that means if I am charging interest of 10%, so monthly there will be a 10 lakhs repayment which will be happening on that limit. So the banker tries to understand over a period over years of time, will this company be able to pay that 1 crore of debt? So they tried to cover it through a interest servicing coverage ratio, which we call interest coverage ratio or interest servicing coverage ratio, which is ISCR. So they just try to understand the profitability of this business or the gross EBITDAs, which is we call earning before in tax and depreciation amortization, or a gross, we roughly call it as a gross profits. So are they enough to repay my debt? So that is a critical ratio when it comes to the short-term finance. When we go for a long-term finance, they want to understand that over a period of time, will the company, because they will be paying into EMIs, so there is a principal repayment which will be happening and there will be interest repayment will be happening. So the lenders try to understand, does the company has enough profitability, or will they be able to generate enough profits out of their business to repay this loan? Third and very critical point, which you rightly said, is the debt to equity ratio, which we also name as leverage. So how much equity and how much debt a company has, gives you a comfort. So suppose it's a it's a 1-to-1 ratio is such a wonderful position. I owe somebody 100 rupees as a company to the lender, and I have my own 100 rupees. So it's a best position to be in. Wonderful position to be in, but it doesn't happen. Banking on debt is something which is being leveraged in the business. So if you understand from a banker's perspective, they say something above 2 and not less than 5 is something which they are okay. Yes, it depends on the from business to business also.
Okay.
From an entrepreneur's perspective, they have to understand there are opportunities in the business. So and entrepreneurs are excellent at grabbing opportunities. But the
Yes.
problem comes is with opportunities come some liabilities. So many times what we have found is it's a profitable business, they are doing good, but there is opportunity of in terms of expansion, in terms of buying some assets or merger or acquiring some company or getting some new technology when their profits come into picture. So they say we are earning 2 crores of profit, our business is nice, we have a 30 odd crores, 50 odd crores of turnover, 100 crores of a turnover. But when there is a large amount of debt comes into picture, so their debt to equity is something which is being calculated by the banks. And many times we have found there good opportunity, good business, but banks reject those loans but just because there is not enough profitability. And because of that, over a period of time, they are not able to accumulate that amount of equity also. So debt to equity is a critical ratio, and I think anything between 1 to 5 is good. And as a entrepreneurs, people should evaluate on a regular basis what is their profitability, and after adding that profits into the reserves and surplus, what is their D by E or the leverage ratio are, because that will become very critical when they go for long term finance projects.
Right. Thanks, Rajiv. So it's very, very important that not my business to me is healthy, but at the same time, I have to observe the figures and see are they reflecting the health, and that is where it will drive me. Sanjeev, from the performance perspective, if you can quickly add up to what Rajiv shared
So,
in terms of debt management ratios, the leveraging ratios.
so the debt equity ratio is something which talks about that owner's stake in the business. That is most important. I was a few days back. I was on to a proposal, a discussion, where it's a very straightforward this thing. But bank says that where is your head into the business? Where how I can going to catch it up and all these things. This is very critical. For any part of the world, the debt equity ratio always kept in the top of it, because unless until we see that the entrepreneur has also put a skin to the business, there's no point in moving to that proposal. All said and done, there are been, because that is another discipline point I also see, that we have seen the entrepreneurs or many of the businesses have withdrawn the money out of the businesses, and at times I have seen category debit balance means higher withdrawal, means the withdrawal, the capital has become negative to that effect. And that's something which none of the financial institution can accommodate. They just can't, because you have withdrawn the money more than your own capacity. So the debt equity ratio comes to a very, very critical for any business, for the long term financing needs of a business. And one thing that we should all be talking about, that the business cannot just run on short term capital funding. It's a mixture of long term and short term funding. Either the long term funding or equity has to back out, which is always a difficult. Then you are restricting your own growth. But if you are having long term this thing, so there is a combination of debt, of long term debt as well as short term debt, that will give the efficient to the business. Otherwise, and we will. So debt equity ratio, I also see a mark to reduce the withdrawal of the money through dividend or any other way out of the business.
So there should be enough equity
Available, yeah.
to give me an opportunity to expand,
Yeah.
to go out, borrow money, which is there.
Yes.
Now, finally, let's quickly spend some time on the final ratios, which are very, very crucial. The profitability ratios, which talks about the profit margin on sales and the cash flow to current maturities,
Correct.
or the debt service ratio, which is there. We have covered a portion of it in our discussions. So quickly to wrap up this, why are these ratios important? Why is profitability ratio important? Rajiv, coming back to you.
See, the ultimate goal of any business is to generate money and
Right.
generate profits. From a lender's perspective, it is important to understand and evaluate how profitability of the business is being generated and what is the margins into the business. So, for example, if there is a thin margin business, either it should be a large volume business, and if at all it's not a volume based business and the margins are thin, that means it's a risky business on the banker's perspective.
Okay.
So one point is that is the way the bankers look at it. From the entrepreneur's perspective, yes, you have to, and that's something which I always try to explain to the entrepreneur communities. Try to put as much as into profits, and don't go by the ITs and or taxes perspective. Try to put any right amount of profits into a business, which shows the right performance of a business, because that will actually help you in the long run. So profitability ratios and the margins are critical because it tells the lender how profitable your business is over a period of time, how these profit margins will, because if I'm giving a loan for 5, 6, 7, 8 years, I need to project those cash flows. On a thin margin and on a low volume, it is very difficult to actually repay those loans. So these margin ratios are very, very critical because they actually they actually help you evaluate your repayment capacity.
Right.
So one thing, yes, you should put it into a right perspective into the business. Two, you have to ensure that over a period of time, these are either on increasing mode or stable mode. A fluctuating gross margin or fluctuating profitability ratios are also taken as risky, as perceived as risky from the lender's perspective.
Okay.
So from balance sheet perspective, from a P&L perspective, that is something the entrepreneurs also should regularly watch on. And this is a very important ratio for them also to understand where they are going. What happens in a race of businesses, I may be expanding to the different markets, and I'm actually getting new buyers on board. So it looks very good from the revenue perspective or the business size. But at the end of the day, what is that I'm earning on that? What is the return on my equity, return on my assets, and what is the profitability margins I am having? That is very critical to know. So many times we also explain to our entrepreneurs is try and get a evaluate your each debtor also. How much profitability you are getting from each debtor. So how to there should be a gradation of your debtors also. So people largely see the our largest buyer is my best customer. But many a times your medium level buyer is your best customers because he's actually giving you the right margins. Margins are important at the end of the day because it gives you the money which you can actually plow back into your balance sheet. Two, it helps you create a fund which will help managing your repayment capacity also.
Great. And I'm sure Rajiv will agree that if I have a good profitability, my equity valuation will also go up. And when I'm looking for partners or a part dilution, I can get a good valuation.
Because equity valuation is all about discounting future cash flows. A
Yes.
good margin always help you to see those cash flows in the future as well.
Right. In fact, why I brought this topic up, me and Sanjeev have been handling an opportunity right now without naming. It's a 50 crore asset which is looking for right now an equity investment or a sellout. So obviously the figure comes at this stage. Sanjeev, coming back to you, how do you validate it on the performance side? Quickly, because you will be running out of time now.
So the evolution from the performance side is the combination of your balance sheet and profit and loss ratios. I can only talk about that, prepare your financial very, very meticulously. The first starting point where you should capture all your sales as well as the cost. Then, very, very, aspiring way, put the ratios into the one kind of Excel where you just put in the figures, you get the ratios and evaluate your month on month basis, So whether it is a gross margin, whether if there is a just getting into your gross margin will not going to help. How to improve, or how to stabilize, or how to something, if it's coming very high, what trigger to high rise, which Rajiv ji has just talked about, that fluctuation doesn't see as a good benchmark. 1 year I show 12%, next year 6%, again 18%, doesn't give any comfort to any financial statement. Then they talk about the financial statements are unstable, which is another very big issues. So monitor it, that if my 12% has gone to 13% or to 11%, what are the reasons? As an entrepreneur, one has to understand this, that this is my business and I should know what exactly has gone right and got wrong, so that tomorrow I should be able to explain this. Same
Right.
To talk about the service industry, which is a cost-based industry. Definitely each and every cost to the sales has to be monitored. Otherwise, you will miss the bus. Probably you will see the business is coming and yes, I have 40% margin, but all of a sudden after 1 year, you is going to see I've left with only 7-8%, which is not your aspirations. So I think month on month basis, putting into the figures will definitely going to help the businesses to grow further.
Sanjeev. In fact, across sectors, whether it is services or manufacturing, the parameters are same, if I'm right, Rajiv and Sanjeev. But obviously, the benchmarking ratio numbers will differ.
Absolutely.
Depending on the sector to sector and across the globe and different markets, it differs. There are different benchmarking which are there. Do we have any questions or any queries from anybody at this juncture? You can unmute and speak out, or
I probably will ask a question to probably either of them. You see, as like Murugan said something on the service sector side of it, like India has been all the what you call the systems are in place for the manufacturing and capital intensive units. Like service industry is not very old, but yes, it is now quite visible. Uh, a part of the question is that how do we like how much time, like today if somebody is doing like starting up and there are some projections or something is going on, so like one is the startup that funding happens in that format. Now second format what we are discussing here is based on the balance sheets and based on the earnings. So what is the time frame? As in the initial talk I said that it takes 2 to 3 years to stabilize or to plan your balance sheet document. So how do you see with respect to a service industry where maybe revenue doesn't come in for a period of 6 months and 1 year in the initial time? It remains on the investing, investing, and investing. So yeah.
okay. So this is with the specific to service industry and startups.
Yeah.
Which is just starting up, and how do we create and manage the balance sheets?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I can feel that when we start up something and we get a funding for this, we have developed some kind of a budget for that. That I will be spending on such and such or this thing. The first and foremost parameter, what I feel, that it is the performance oriented, which is to be benchmarked against what I budgeted. First and foremost, the budgets can be wrong, budgets can be modified, but I should have moved towards that, one of the very aspect. And another thing that I will always talk about, many of the IT companies or these companies are there, try to take a benchmark of the current industry, which is the most important aspect. I am not, if I'm an IT company, I should not have to take up TCS to compete or to compare with me. But a startup, who is just coming from survival state to a growing stage to a stabilized stage, I know exactly what stage I am, whether I'm in survival or I'm in a growing or in a stable, and then scaling and all. So I need to benchmark myself on the basis of my stage and try to see that how they are doing, if I can get those figures, and compare me that what is right for me and what is going wrong for me, and then try to compete, try to analyze, I will say. on that basis.
Sanjeev, what you're saying is one is I benchmark uh, myself with an existing industry in the same life
Yes.
cycle stage of where I am at
Yes.
early stage of this. Rajiv, would you like to point out something?
Yeah, there are two aspects what Mr. Goel has asked. One is how to get that funding, and two, how to actually maintain a good health in terms of your balance sheet. To answer the first part, bankers generally go on a past record and try to actually discount it on the future basis. So for a startup, a service industry, which is not possible. So initially they have to go through some, avail these finance through the banking schemes like Startup India Fund or Mudra loans. And there is a CGTMSE scheme also for the entrepreneurs up to 2 crores. So they can avail that. They can also leverage on their collateral if they have, or they can do some bootstrapping. Now coming to the maintaining a good health in terms of their financials. First thing is you have to start right. So when you are in a what Sanjeev ji was telling is the survival phase, you just try to survive anyhow. So many times it happens that the balance sheet is not important; it's the business which is important, and we understand that this is the way people grow also. But there's few decisions which I think they should take after due consultation from their financial experts. Just to give you an example, there was one of our clients who actually took an office, bought an office of 1 crore. Now he was actually now tight of funds. Banks were saying, okay, you have created an office of 1 crore. Now you don't have margin to put in a business so that we can put in some money. So that margin was not there. So regular funding was actually a liquidity was an issue. However, if you would have gone for a loan to buy that, asset, so 20 out of the 25, he could have owned the whole office. He could have repaid it also, and the rest 75 lakhs which he could have with him, he could have actually utilized it for the working capital purposes. So many times to start with, also they should actually have a due consultation with experts, or take consultation from the advisors to do that.
So there are two things which came up. One is benchmarking, and next, what Rajiv will pointed out is wonderful. How should I lay out and plan out my capital expenses and sit out with the expert and plan it out? Mr. Goel, does it answer
Yeah,
some?
to an extent, yes. And how much time generally it takes? Like, suppose if we talk about a business which has been set up in a like, because most of the businesses are like promoter based, so the financial sheets are not that important other than meeting the legal requirements. And when probably the next generation comes in picture, they look for expansion and getting more funds. So how much time it takes generally to revise your documents according to what bankers look for?
It's like building a room. So financial restructuring in terms of improving your balance sheet ratios and many other things, it's a time-taking process, no doubt. However, if you start the process right, you can have a nice balance sheet in terms of your health. If at all there is issues with the balance sheet, and which are there, it takes time because there are so many things which have to be many times it's like the horse is behind the cart. So taking the horse in front of the car is at times it's a difficult because it's not a one day job. And if you see my personal experience says it can take 2 to 5 years to actually put the balance sheet in the right perspective, given the size of the balance sheet. It depends on the size of the balance sheet.
But generally, bankers they focus on the like how long, how much the period they look for.
See, from a minimum vintage perspective, they look for 3 years of a vintage to actually, lend the loans.
Okay, great. Do we have any other queries as such? I don't see any coming up. Okay, with this, I think we can conclude. Yes, Mr. Goel.
With the inputs coming from Sanjeev and Rajiv, I could recollect the movie Milkha Bhag. Ultimately, you see, it is the entrepreneur who has to run and beat the race. But yes, if he is been guided by good people, probably they let him know that what he can do to achieve better results. Now there again comes a time where a person is relaxed. Like after winning couple of medals, Milkha Singh started enjoying the Europe and US tours.
Absolutely.
Again, he was being put back into the line. So it looks that a person who is doing business, doing good, a regular maintenance and regular meeting and a regular consultation with the people with respect to his objective, with respect to his goals is always necessary, which generally in the, I say that in the mentality of individual promoters, sometimes I found missing. So the regular health checkup and regular financial health checkup of the company, they both are a necessary component now. If you are looking for a very long-term, if you have a long-term planning, if you are doing a trading and with a very less aspiration and with not very high objectives, fine, then you can manage like it's like then we can call a small establishment. So mom and pop business, I think that's what we say.
Right.
So in that, probably all these things are not required. But if you are aspired to grow big, I think these subjects have become very crucial and important, and we need to have ourselves aligned with experts so that we, even if we deviate, somebody is there to guide us. That yes, come back to the line. So
Yeah, just to add to what you said, see, from the entrepreneur side, they should be very clear on their why. Why are they doing what they are doing? For how and what to do, they can always hire and outsource people.
yeah,
Very important.
One more point that's right. Like you have your banking and CIBIL score, since this balance sheet are all given to the ROC and everything, why don't they create a score for companies and everything with that? Like, so they keep on every year knowing it, what is their score, whether they will get the loan or not, everything kind of a thing.
Mr. Yes.
Yeah, please. Sandeep.
It's in fact a very important point, Mr. Murugan, we mentioned. Since it is not there, right, Rajiv, anywhere like a CIBIL score?
Internally, there is a rating which happens within the banks.
It happens.
And largely, when for exposures, large exposures, there is external bank ratings which are done by rating agencies. And CIBIL is generally used for individual loans. For large loans, they generally there is no benchmark, but yes, internal ratings do happen. So there is for different banks, they have their own rating system. And for large exposures, they go by the external ratings from CARE, Fitch, and the likes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ratings have been done because individual ratings are leading to a lot of offers being given out to individuals now, which all of you receive on your WhatsApp and your SMSs every day, depending on what is your CIBIL score. Same is happening with the corporates, right? Great.
Just to add one more thing, because rightly Muruganji we have understood this requirement from the SMEs and the clients. So we have developed a product called Enterprise Assessment, where we have a 506 point questionnaire, and basis we give a assessment to the companies on various aspects, not only banking but other aspects also, which actually helps them understand where we stand today.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Very good.
Because that is one kind of a tool, Rajiv, as you mentioned, everybody has been working on, and we have been deliberating for quite some time, right, Mr. Goel? And it is there, a couple of companies have approached also in terms of understanding it. So as Mr. Goel, you rightly put it across, it's important that we measure ourselves where we are as an organization. And are we always trim and fit and ready that when we go out, we can have partners, have equity, have funding available to us to fuel and fund our visions for the long term. Right. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for joining. A special thanks to Rajiv for making out time and joining us and sharing your thoughts today. We look forward to more sessions. Sanjeev, thanks you once again for joining in. Mr. Goel, thank you. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Mr. Murugan. Thanks, Sanjay. Thanks, Mr. Mathur. Thank you, everybody, for joining. See you again next week, same time.